Mr. Storm, were you able to look at some of the kind of the validator code from Shimmer, and you think that's something that isn't too difficult for you?
I haven't looked at it, but I've run nodes before. But I'm not sure if I'm able to do it.
Yeah, I
But
think I feel like if
the
you were
first is we need to know the necessary specs for a node, and if you're able to run it.
right. Yeah, I feel like if you were running the nodes for Shimmer, you could probably get by with it. I know Garrett posted some code in, we sort of had like a contributor, initial contributor, but I'm trying to ask him if we can just move all that to node operator channel. And then I think between you and Jiggle, I think we'd probably be able to assess, kind of like that, what's the requirements, costs, etc. And then,
Yeah, and we should
and
also know what is the benefit of having more coordinator nodes, and also what is the risk of having coordinator nodes if there are people like us who are not technical proficient to run them. What is the risk if it's downtime or yeah, if it's not
yeah.
properly protected? Yeah.
Mm. So, because I thought it was my understanding, and I'm looking now at the GitHub. So it looks like Garrett launched a private Tangle. Now, my question would be, is this the same as when IOTA started doing distributed validators? I thought they had multiple validators and I thought there had to be consensus amongst them rather than, the idea was going to go to Shimmer and go with Mana. But before that, instead of having a single coordinator, they had, I thought whatever you want to call it, multiple coordinators or a validator committee. And they had, three of them were the IF, two were like universities that they were funding. And then there was a few other big companies running it. And I understood that as it was consensus, that it wasn't there wasn't a centralized fault. Like if one went down, it didn't stop the tangle. And also one couldn't centrally do a chain reorg or anything. Hey, I got a phone call coming in. I'm going to jump off for a second. Maybe you can, okay, I'm back. Yeah, so I guess this was the code that we're looking at from Garrett that doesn't, I guess we're trying to figure out, because it was my understanding that with IOTA, they changed to a validator committee aspect, but people looking at the code are now looking like it's more, there's a coordinator, and if that coordinator shits the bed, then the whole committee shits the bed. Is that kind of what we're initially thinking? Can you guys hear me? I'm wondering if there's any other code. Man, it would be really nice if someone from the Tangle Pay team or Garrett could join these meetings. Um, and this, and do we know for sure that this is the code that the IF was running when they were saying that the Tangle is now decentralized? So why can't we fork the one with the committee and have multiple validators? So hold on. Let's just take a step back. Step back. Hold on. So Shimmer was running, quote unquote, had completed courticide, but hadn't reached mana yet.
Excuse me. It's the opposite actually. Shimo got the new coordinator, the decentralized coordinator first, and they actually didn't tell anyone. They just changed it, and then afterwards they told that we have already tested it half a year, and then it came to IOTA. So Shimo did have for a long time the coordinator with the committee or with several coordinators. Yeah.
So is that code public? I was under the assumption that this was the fork of Shimmer, not a private Tangle. Like a private Tangle is meant to be a centralized company. Like let's say IBM, they just want to do something themselves. It's not public. It's not decentralized. There's no access. They're just building it for themselves. That's it. And they run their coordinator node, but it's essentially a centralized network. I'm just no, but it's not it doesn't matter if it's public. All that's doing is saying it's basically the old Tangle. It's where you have a coordinator and a node centrally run, and then anyone can run a Hornet node, and then
Yeah.
they can process their transactions through that Hornet node rather than going through another node. But it's still centrally controlled by that coordinator at the end of the day.
May I say something on that? Yeah, can someone that is technical oriented on the code of the ledger verify if this is the GitHub for the committee? Because on the descriptions it says that this specific GitHub enables a committee of validators to operate as a distributed coordinator.
Sorry, say that last one.
The description on the specific GitHub mentions that this specific code actually enables a committee of validators to operate as a distributed coordinator. So can someone verify that this is actually the code that you guys are looking for?
Where do you read that? Can you take a
On the
screenshot
about-
maybe?
On the about section.
And I don't like honestly at this point, I don't care if that's if the centralized run is being run. I just want to know, can we run the decentralized one? Is there code that we can fork if we get people that can do that? Is there public code? Let me take a look. The NX.
As I said, I think this is the code that you are looking for about enabling the community.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't see how the code that Shimmer was running on wasn't available, to be honest. I just like it was all open. It's supposed to be open source unless they shut it down after they closed it and just said, well,
I think everything was under IOTA Ledger, though. Everything, even Simmer. It shared the same basis.
I see what you're saying, though. The repository contains an NEX plugin for a distributed coordinator using Tendermint Core BFT consensus. Each plugin contains its own Tendermint node and represents one validator in the network. In order to bootstrap a network without any previous milestones. I mean, I just don't see how we can really move forward without getting Garrett on one of these calls. And if we need to do adjust the time, because I know it's super late for him in China. What time is it in Hong Kong? Yeah. Yeah. So like if we need to have 1 week where we adjust the time just to figure this out, because this is like, to me, a huge roadblock. I mean, if we can't create a decentralized distributed coordinator validator, there's no point. Like I'm not in this to create a centralized coordinator. We would then need funds. We would need funds to actually program something, and that's a totally different short-term goal versus, hey, we just fork Shimmer, we have a decentralized network, then we move forward. So we need to kind of. But again,
Can I ask something?
Well, hold on. Let me just one last question to trying to get the big picture here. So this INX plugin would essentially be integrated into the private Tangle and decentralize the coordinators. Is that what I'm understanding? Lion Alpha, do you know that at all?
Actually, my question is somehow related. From my understanding, the TAN project is supposed to be based on a private Tangle. Is this correct?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Is the original concept of the TAN network, is it based on a private Tangle?
No. Look, disregard what Garrett's running. From my understanding, Saphir, if you can speak or type, the original vision of TAN was to basically fork Shimmer as a decentralized coordinators. Is that correct? And I know Saphir was, I believe, driving his daughter to the dentist. So okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So let's say this. The original version was to fork Shimmer with decentralized coordinators. What I think the question is, and what it looks like, and I'm only saying this with my little knowledge, is that the IOTA Ledger Hornet that he provided is all within the IOTA Ledger. It's all under that set of code. Then the question is, And maybe Garrett didn't necessarily connect this plugin, which decentralizes the coordinators with multiple coordinators, because he didn't need to, right? Tangle Pay was essentially just created a private Tangle, and they're the coordinator, and there weren't at the time. So I think the question is, what Garrett has built so far, can we integrate this INX plugin, and can we decentralize with multiple coordinators? Let's just start calling them validators until we choose something different. So multiple validators.
Well, from my perspective, if I understand correctly, what Garrett has done so far is actually constructing a small decentralized network, but in a centralized manner, because it's a private Tangle,
Right.
which is basically a small decentralized space, but it's based on a centralized manner. Exactly, because it's centralized. No one can connect in that aspect yet.
So it also says, in order to bootstrap a network without any previous INX Tenderco milestones, command line needs to be set. The additional bootstrap parameters can be used to set additional command line flags. I think just we got to figure out, we have to understand, one, can we integrate, has he integrated this plugin? If yes, then okay, there could be multiple coordinators, validators. If he hasn't integrated it, then how do we integrate this with, depending on, he may just want to start fresh again. I don't know honestly what he has. I don't know who's using it. Does he want to keep those milestones in place? And then we need a team to figure out the fork and then the token drop. But really, we need him to join one of these meetings. It kind of drives me nuts going. I really hate going in between people. It's always like it never works out well. Information gets construed, and it doesn't work as especially when you're working together as a team. So,
we need the DLT experts.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, like yourself and Mr. Storm and Bill Poster, you guys have some knowledge, but maybe not an absolute expert, but together as a team.
I can describe the basic functionality of the Tangle. For example, I know that each Hornet actually helps in the supporting of the system in about validating the transactions. The question with the current problem is if Garrett has found a way to provide input for the specific system of enabling multiple validators.
Right.
And apart from that, I'm sorry for saying this, but it's not okay. It's not okay like waiting for the single person. I mean, we need to seek DLT experts.
Right, but we don't have any in the community yet. So the question is, how do we get those DLT experts? And I think the first step is,
I suggested it.
The first step is, getting all the communication in the node operator to be open, so anyone can say, "Hey, I actually can do this. I like where you guys are going. I like the action, etc." Or we have to keep spreading the word until we get more people interested. But again, it's also those people are going to come in that are DLT experts, and they're going to go, "Where are you guys at?" And we need at least some of us to have some sentiment to say, hey, we've created a private Tangle, but we haven't done this plugin or whatever. I think if they come in and say, where you guys at? We go, I don't know. We're just waiting for someone. I feel like generally those individuals are like, whoa, I can't get involved here. I mean, this is.
I understand. Which is why we also need input from the guard. I mean, what's the latest update from him, and when?
The latest was me trying to get from him and connect him with Jiggle, who Jiggle was like, hey, I'll put together